A point-blank statement from our side is the mass transit is a good thing. We've been misquoted in the press for being against mass transit and being elitist and so on and so forth, but that's not the case. We are for mass transit. Any other interpretation of what we are saying is wrong. What are the environmental issues of Islamabad? Well, we've seen a lot of them, and we see, well, for example, deforestation and destroying of the green cover of Islamabad. It goes on every day. We see it happening all the time. We see more pollution in the air. We see depleting and deteriorating water resource of Islamabad by constantly being used, the underground water resource. And also the dams which feed Islamabad with water. Waste management has all but disappeared. We see a lot of noise pollution in the form of traffic and so forth. And we see unmitigated concretization. If you see that in the roads that we're building, the buildings, it's just unabated and with absolute no abandon. We don't see any urban planning as well. A lot of the suburbs of Islamabad have become slums. Inside Islamabad, we have slums now. And the list goes on. What are the issues with Metro? Well, for starters, no options were explored by the government. It was just one thing which they had in their mind, and they've gone like a bulldozer to execute it. The EIA, environmental impact analysis, was done by a party which is also one of the parties which was awarded the contract, so there's a conflict of interest there. It is the character of the city has been and is being violated absolutely by this project.
The main points I want to make are essentially three. First, that the Margala Hills are a national asset of global significance, and it is the responsibility of all of us, all the stakeholders, to preserve this national wealth, which is also a part of the wealth of humankind. The second point is that there have been attempts in the past by the rapacious elements, the predators, who have dominated, unfortunately, the socio-political situation in this country. There have been attempts by them to desecrate, defile, destroy the Margala Hills, and these guys are not going to stop their activities. And so there is a need for constant vigilance on the part of the citizens to check and checkmate these rapacious elements. And the third point basically is that of all the stakeholders, the state, the private sector, and others, the governing institutions, the most reliable, the most indispensable, the most dependable stakeholder are you and I, the citizens, the civil society. The civil society of Pakistan has proved its credentials by its success in putting some restraints, some brakes, as we have seen in the case of Metro, on the absolutely reckless behavior of the governing authorities of this country, and must continue to do so.
I'm a fourth-year law student at Edinburgh University, and in Edinburgh right now we just have our tram systems that have been put in place. Not a single tree was cut down to build those tram systems. That's a massive public transport system that exists there. And in fact, prior to the initiative being launched, the Edinburgh City Council, like any responsible public authority around the world, gave a cost-benefit analysis to engage public sentiment and what the public felt, what benefits the public would receive from such a project. There's a quotation given there that Thai Limited, which was their operational arm, gave regarding the project. Now, in the case of Islamabad, there was no cost-benefit analysis. There was no we were aware of the fact that there's social costs, not just in terms of environmental pollution, but like you said earlier, there's temporary problems like commuting, which have been made more difficult. It's more time-consuming. And public benefit, we haven't really seen, we haven't been told by the government what exactly is the public benefit that's going to be provided by the Metrobus project. At best, it's uncertain. Lastly, next slide, please. Lastly, as it was said earlier, we're not opposed to public transport, and in fact, one of the major problems that people are having with those who oppose the Metrobus project is that they're calling us elitists, or they're saying that this is an environment against development debate. This is not an environment against development debate. This is a feasible against non-feasible public transport scheme development debate, and we're not opposed to public transport. We're all for it, but the Metrobus, we know, has caused this damage, as you've seen in these pictures. And as I've talked to you about and the other panelists have spoken to you about.
What's going to happen with this massive concretization is, I think that the first thing that you can connect to is the heat island effect, that the amount of heat that this island is going to retain is going to go up. So, for example, what we're feeling these days is about 46 degrees of temperature when the actual temperature is about 40 to 42 degrees, because all this concrete retains the heat. And this is all going to increase. And once this increases, and that there's such massive concretization, it's going to displace water that's falling from above. It's going to disrupt the rainfall patterns. It's going to disrupt the ground, and the forest acts as a sponge. So the water table gets depleted. We all know that we all go through a water crisis every year. Go to F8 and you can find out. It's supposed to be one of the elite sectors. Iman mentioned that there are no problems in elite sectors. This won't happen in elite sectors. Go to Koisar market and see what they're burning there, and people that they're moving out of that place right now. And you're going to see what these people are doing in elite sectors as well. So there is no respect for the environment as such. Well, the law clearly says that, you can't damage green areas, that you're violating the master plan. Even the EIA says that maximum, these are quotes right from the EIA report. Maximum efforts will be made to protect green belts. Where it is inevitable to save trees, transplantation of the affected tree will be made. The developer will pay and facilitate compensatory plantation where the transplantation is unfeasible. And you know what's happened, as Fawad and Versa was pointing out.
I think I remember that quote that it is useless to cry over spilt milk, rather. But you should have, invited these government people here to listen to your voice directly, at least. And my recommendation is that, what can we say? That if we are at their place, we would be using, so we are not sincere as well. But, keeping in mind this Islamabad green and all that, your issues are very valid. And legally we are very weak. So it's going to be another futile exercise, don't you think so?
We are fighting for a real cause. And the environment is the primary cause that everybody should be responsible and should be committed to. So if you are going with this thought that, because it has not been done, no. We are few, but we are good.
Yes, we have to fight for the good. And that is our, effort that I wish all the best for you.
I feel that the efforts are good, but still needs to be, as I think the madam has also highlighted and the gentleman has also highlighted, that we need to mobilize, I think, a lot of people on this. Because I have learned from some time now that our governments, they do understand only through agitation. So I think we need to mobilize our forces. Maybe as the young ladies talked about the Kachi Abadis, so please move them also. You need to sit maybe in the D choke also, because you need to make the people listen to your voice. They need to hear you.
You have our support. I think the more the merrier. And I think if you feel strongly about this, we feel strongly about this, we'll support you. But if you have a suggestion, if you have a plan, why don't you take the ownership and execute it? We'll support you with that.